Why does it feel like as soon as you make a plan, the internet is there to tell you how bad it is? That was my week. Right now with Jump to Freelance, I'm in build mode. That means I am kicking around new ideas, coming up with new concepts of how to solve problems. Ultimately, I'm trying to help people like you who are considering making the jump to freelance. I want to help empower you, encourage you, and in some cases, embolden you. Like, let's do this. Let's take that step. There's a lot of ways you can solve that problem, but there are a few that I'm trying to be very specific in targeting. The first thing is I'm going to be launching a podcast in January. And so I'm working on podcast stuff. I'm building the structure for the podcast. I'm reaching out to guests. I'm organizing the production flow of all of it. Like any project, you have to manage it in some capacity. Well, the internet showed up and I'm getting all of these ads basically saying, look, you're probably doing your podcast super wrong right now. Look, you probably don't know how to make the most out of what you're trying to do. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I haven't even launched this podcast. And already the internet is criticizing me. And it's telling me that either it's not going to work or that I'm doing it wrong. I'm like, bro, chill out. I haven't even launched it. And at the end of the day, success looks like someone like you watching or listening and getting something beneficial out of it. So ultimately, these people that are barking at me on the internet, they don't even share the same values that I have for the things that I'm doing and the things that I'm creating. And the podcast is just one of the things. There's a community that I'm building that will be the kind of place where you can get mentorship and coaching. I'm working on my website right now. I launched before my website. If you saw the short video that I put out, you can do that. So I'm building that. I'm basically trying to build the infrastructure of what this thing is. How can I help freelancers be successful at approaching the jump, making the jump, and then really on the other side, having the infrastructure that you need in order to be successful over the long haul. So that's what I'm building. But right now it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming because the internet keeps chiming in. And amidst the angst that I feel when that happens, because that's typically where I go, I'm just frustrated with it all. I paused and I thought to myself, okay, what would I do in this situation if somebody comes to me and says they're overwhelmed? Well, the go-to for me that I have found in my career is to pick something and invest in it for 90 days. Being reliable over the course of that 90 days is really important because you need to get a clear baseline as to whether or not this thing's gonna work. So in this instance, I'm launching the podcast in January, and my commitment is over the 90-day period, basically the first quarter of 2025, I'm going to be reliable, I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to do everything in my power to continue to deliver a quality product in hopes that it helps people navigate this jump to freelance. I've already reached out to people, and I've already gotten some yeses, which is super exciting. But what I'm doing is moving forward regardless of what the internet says. One of the reasons the jump to freelance feels so complicated is because as soon as you start something, as soon as you start making a little bit of movement forward in anything, let's say you want to start a podcast, you start researching podcast solutions, all of a sudden you're going to get ads all about podcasts. You're going to get ads telling you how you can turn your podcast into a money-making machine. You're going to get ads saying that if you're not committed for 5 years, you shouldn't even bother. You're going to get ads saying the podcast market is so saturated that you shouldn't even be in it unless you do this one secret thing that you have to pay me money in order to hear about. Those are the kinds of things that are going to pop up on your social media feeds, your Google ads. Like, it's going to show up everywhere. And the problem is that we need a degree of mental fortitude in order to get through that, in order to get past that. And so I know for me, I'm facing a barrage of it right now. And it's exhausting. Like, I've done this before. I've done this many times and I've had this happen many times. It's still super exhausting. It's a mental battle for me to tune out all of this noise. And really the only way I found to effectively tune it out is to make sure that I have my plan clearly mapped out. What am I going to be doing for the next 90 days, the first quarter of 2025? I'm going to write it down, podcast, and that's what I'm going to look at. So when I get an ad on Facebook, I'm going to look at my phone and I'm going to say, well, my plan actually is to run the podcast for 90 days. That's my plan. And I'll evaluate it as we go, but I'm going to commit for 90 days. And what that does is that gives you the ability to build momentum. I talked about that last week in the vlog, because it's been on my mind a lot. As the year ends, you feel like a lot of stuff's winding down. At the end of the year was really critical for us because we were really close on finances, and the momentum that I had built over the course of the year and the year prior and the year prior, all of that momentum really helped us finish the year in the black. It was very close, very close. And so I want to make that clear. Building momentum is the way that you start. It's the way that you make the jump to freelance. So here's my suggestion to you. If you're already kind of thinking about 2025, I would say build a plan. What does your first quarter look like? What are the things you're going to invest in? It could be something like, I'm going to email one person every work day. So every Monday through Friday. On Monday, I'm going to email one person. Tuesday, one person. Wednesday, one person. It could be, I'm going to be really intentional on LinkedIn. I'm going to post 3 times a week. I'm going to try to add one new follower or one new subscriber or one new relationship, one network, connect with one person every day of the month. It could be, I'm going to spend 20 minutes interacting with people on LinkedIn every day. It could be, I'm going to shoot for a goal of 5 comments across posts during the day. Whatever it is, lean into your strategy. Build it. So document this, write it down. This is the thing I'm going to shoot for, and then operate it. That's it. That's all you have to do. I think a lot of times we feel like, and I feel this too, so please hear that. I feel like I need to do everything. I need to succeed in business today. I have one day in order to make sure everything's covered. This happens to me every month when I transfer money and our bills are covered. Okay, that month's done. How am I going to pay for next month? I don't know. I haven't even used any of the days of that month yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still have a full month to get to beginning to generate the revenue that I need for that month. Some months, it's more than I need, and I already know how the next month's going to be covered. Others, it's not. This month was that way. It was very close. So you're trying to set yourself on a daily, sustainable, momentum-building pace. And the way you do that is you build a plan and you operate it every day. One of the things I'm really excited about, along with the podcast, is this community that I'm going to be launching probably in January as well. But it's basically going to be a group mentorship, group coaching type of an environment. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're thinking about going into. If you're on the brink of making the jump to freelance, what I'm building is for you. So it's meant to help you with the structure and the community that address what I found to be the 2 biggest problems: loneliness and what the heck am I supposed to do tomorrow? And so the structure helps solve what you should do tomorrow. It helps you solve what you should do over the next quarter. But the community helps everybody kind of spur each other on. And so I think it's going to be a really cool thing. If you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, tell me that you want more information. I would love to encourage you along the way as you look to make the jump to freelance.